To the next segment, corporate partnerships and innovation, particularly in Southeast Asia. So we often hear about the importance of corporate partnerships and finding the right partners, particularly for global expansion. So Ivan, let's start with your thoughts on corporate partnership and innovation.
Yeah, I think corporates are great innovators. They have the resources, they have the planning. So like it is a great idea to really partner with them to be part of the ecosystem into the thinking planning stage. I think a good example for us is for us to first step here is to partner with like SingPost and SVS Transit in Singapore, where we are seeing the like their pain points, like how do we help using the digital human, the AI, and not to replace. Again, I think there's a particular interesting problem in Singapore is the labor shortage and talent shortage here. So how do we plan it with our corporates to actually fill the gaps, like all the gaps that they are having. And at the same time, we enhance our product, we provide that experience, and then we gain the exposure at the same time with the corporates. I think it's just the natural choice for us when we go to a new market.
And Grace, over to you. You spoke about how Unravel Carbon used two very specific forms of key partnerships. Could you talk us through your model of corporate co-design partners and also the corporate venture arms?
Yeah, so I'm one of those that believe we shouldn't accept corporate money, CVC money too early on in our life, because their pace and their structures are not friendly to what an early stage company requires to just survive, right? Which is speed, agility, a lot of rapid experimentations and so on. So the fact that we are 3.5 years old now, we have decided now to take CVC money, and they're really good money because they open up new markets, they help you sell in the new markets, they put their sales team behind your product, right? We were just talking about IKEA, for example, right? And so now it's that's the right form of capital and partnership for every stage of a startup journey's life. There's no one size fit all. That's on the CVC side. I think going forward, we will be very open to that kind of funding. On the corporate partners, I mean, look, as a startup founder, we all know, like the first 18 months, our only job as a founder is to find product market fit, nothing else. Nothing else matters, right? Everything else is noise. So yeah, when we expand now, the moment we were 3 years old, we expanded this year into Japan and US at the same time. Some people argue it's too late, too early, whatever, but when we enter a new market, we don't assume that we have already found PMF, just because we have PMF in this region, right? So in those markets, the early parts of our pipeline, the early partners that become our design partners, we would charge them less, but in return, we would want a lot of feedback, right? With the expectation that we are looking for that PMF for that new market or that new sector within that new market. So design partners are great. You get feedback for free and you almost get also paid for it.
And Kohki, you also mentioned about how using conglomerates as partners is vital. You spoke specifically about this holy trinity of research, conglomerates, and startups. So could you talk to us about this?
Yes. So I think we started understanding after starting this business, but this typical VC play was a little bit difficult in Asia, specifically in Southeast Asia and Japan, because many things are not top-down or bottom-up, or like integration. So for startups, it's always good to work with large corporates to use their platform, but in many cases, the conglomerates try to do many things in-house. So you have to find a good form of collaboration. And what we recently built is what I mentioned earlier, called ATAC, Advanced Technology Acceleration Corporation, which is to connect the academia, the universities, the researchers, and the startups and the large corporations, so that we can build an ecosystem to develop something together and use a large corporation's platform in order to scale. But yeah, takes time because it's all about integration.
And Anuj, back to you. As much as startups really want to partner conglomerates, can you walk us through, based on your experience, what do corporates typically want from a startup partnership? And how should founders prepare for it?
I can sort of give you a little framework. So we are a managed marketplace, so there's obviously demand creation for us is exceedingly important, and fulfillment of that specific order or the customer demand in a very predictable, trusted manner is sort of the other promise that you have to your customers. So you sort of use the same framework in a sense. Predictable, underwritten demand creation. We've got all kind of affiliate partnerships. We partner very closely with real estate developers who are essentially a principal indicator of new home demand and so forth and so on. So that's important. We've had a lot of success with online brokerage houses. So many platforms essentially combine demand, for new homes on their websites and so forth and so on, and represent lots of brokers. We've sort of had, frankly, a good percentage of our early stage demand originates from some of those channels. So these are very important structured partnerships for us. Any of these partnerships, obviously, for lack of a better description, you're kind of making a promise to each other. So they would require some kind of a baseline term sheet, right? And I'm not using term sheet as an onerous term. It's just an agreement that you will essentially have the following handshake and the following protocol, the following sort of SOW, so to say, when you're actually managing these large sort of relationships. On our supply side, we work with tens of thousands of small, subcontractors, workshops, and so forth and so on. But some of the largest brands in the market as well. For example, Saint-Gobain, which is also like a minority investor in Livspace, is one of the largest French agglomerate in the construction material space. We have a very deep partnership with them in India in the area of, I think, false ceilings and glass partitions and so forth and so on. Any of these relationships is like a two-way handshake, where you're really establishing the terms and conditions of how you'll operate together. But my advice to everybody is deeply think about the promise that you're making to each other and reflect that in the terms and conditions or term sheets, for lack of a better description.